Welcome to Don't Fear the Weight podcast with your host Vicky Masita, bringing together science and personal experience.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the next episode of Don't Fear the Weight podcast. I am your tiny titan host, as usual, Vicky Masita. You know that I never change, but my guests always do. Now, I have got a very special guest on today by the name of Brandon, who is also the owner of LiftBigEatBig, and he's known as that on Instagram as well. Hey Brandon, how are you?
Eat big.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Eat big, get big. That was a good faux pas to start off the podcast, wasn't it? I'm going to leave it in because I like these little things. It shows that we're human and that we all make mistakes.
Lift big, eat big.
Lift big, eat big. And in all of those, it equals getting big. Am I right?
Right.
Awesome. So, Brandon, for people who don't know who you are, just give us a little bit about your background and who you are and where you come from and all the rest of it.
All right. Well, my name is Brandon. I've been in strongman and powerlifting for about 7 years. I've run the site for about 7 years. I've competed in 13 shows, 2 CrossFit competitions, which we won't talk about. I coach people all around the world. I've done seminars all around the world. I have a cooking show, 2 small dogs. I do some outdoor survival stuff, and I'm addicted to Nicorette and champagne.
Wow. That is a huge combination. So tell us a little bit more about the hybrid strongman stroke CrossFit games. What's that about?
I mean, as far as my competition in it?
Yeah.
Well, that was about 100 pounds ago. I haven't done CrossFit in about 5 years, but I did those competitions when I was 165. I'm like 272 now. So
wow.
I couldn't hang there anymore. I don't want to hang there anymore. It's too much work, too much sweating. So I stick to lifting, strongman stuff now, some powerlifting stuff, and a whole lot of bodybuilding stuff thrown on top of that.
Fantastic. So you're still realistically a hybrid athlete, really, aren't you?
I use bodybuilding stuff to, what's the word? I use bodybuilding stuff to make my strongman lifts better, to make my powerlifting lifts better, and to just look better outside of the gym. Lifting big is cool for the hour or 2 you're in the gym, but I want to look like I lift for the remaining 22 hours outside of the gym. So just more of a rehab thing, and just getting more volume in to get bigger, basically. So I wouldn't say I'm hybrid. I only compete now in strongman and powerlifting. But as far as everything else goes, it just helps those 2 things.
Right. Okay, cool. So you almost use that as a little bit more than just accessory lifts for your powerlifting and strongman, right?
Yeah, I would say about 60% of my training is accessory work. I'm just of the mindset that you can't only do the lifts you want to get better at them. So, if your squat sucks, and you're only squatting to get better at squatting, then if your left leg is stronger than your right, like mine is, you might get stronger, but that leg will still be stronger than the weaker leg. So I do a lot of unilateral stuff, 100 rep sets, sometimes I do 1,000 reps or so in a day, just to make that targeted muscle bigger. I'm taller. I'm very tall. So I have to put a lot more mass on whatever limb I'm working to make it look like I work out. And that's the struggle.
I can imagine. So how tall are you, just out of interest?
6'5".
Yeah, so you are very, very tall. You've got like an entire 2 feet on me.
Yeah, and my arms are almost 7 feet long, the span. So it's just a lot of distance to put on mass, basically.
Absolutely, definitely. Okay, so let's get into the fact that you do still have coaching clients as well, don't you? As well as all of your cooking shows and your educational parts of things, don't you?
Yeah, I coach people in person. I coach them online. So every continent now, but Antarctica, I've had clients on. So it's pretty cool.
You mean you don't coach the penguins in Antarctica? That's sad.
I need someone to bring a barbell to one of the bases, and then we can get that done.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so let's have a look into the nutrition side of things that you like doing for your clients. I'm very, very interested because of the simple fact that you've got a cooking show as well, and I am addicted to having a look through your Instagram. I have been trolling a little bit, I must admit, because your food looks epic. So let's talk about nutrition and food that you do for yourself, and then what you do for your clients. Because I'm assuming that you've got to be on about 6,000 calories a day. Am I right?
I don't know. I don't measure anything I eat. I just, from like 5 to 10 p.m., I don't even know. I just eat nonstop. It's probably not close to 6,000. 6,000 when I was gaining, probably around 4,500. For my clients, it's different. I measure their stuff. I write their recipes. I write their macros. It's similar to the stuff that I cook. The portions are just different. I found that if it's chicken, brown rice, and broccoli, no one's going to stick to that for very long. It's boring. Sure. It just sucks. It sucks. So the stuff I write for my clients, weight loss or weight gain, is similar to the stuff I make, maybe a more tame version of that because it does take a lot of time sometimes. But the portions are just fit to what they need. So they can still eat good food if they want to go out. They know the macros they're supposed to hit, so they can order something that's around those macros. So there's a lot of freedom. I just think that when people have more freedom, but not too much, they're more likely to stay on their own plan. Where if it's too strict and they fall off once, they'll fall off again a couple weeks later. Then they'll just kind of stay off and say, fuck it, I don't need that anyway. Yeah. So I like to give them freedom to eat food that tastes like food.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So have you found that there is, obviously you want to look good outside of just your powerlifting and your strongman as well. So that does come with limitations, like you were saying, almost restricted calories. So your plans and macros are going to be strict, but not restrictive as such.
I would say they are as strict as people need them to be. There's some women that are losing weight on my plan and they're at 2,800 calories or so. Just depends on what they're coming from. As the meal plans go on, we will adjust and reduce macros because if you're following macros of someone who's 20 pounds heavier, it doesn't make sense. So I just keep it strict enough to where they're going to see progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. So in regards to, let's have a look at bulking then rather than losing weight at this point. We know that we've got to eat big to get big, but realistically, in your opinion, how much is too much?
Well, when I got big, I gained the 100 pounds in about 18 months, and I think that would be too much. So it was food like I'm eating now, plus a gallon of milk a day on top of all the food for about a year. So it was not great weight. I've spent the year since then just recomping and staying about the same weight. But I think now it would be better to gain a little bit slower and save you time on the back end where you don't have to then lose a bunch of fat that you gained. So just depends on the person, but you do have a lot more leeway, a lot more donuts around training, ice cream at night, a few breakfasts, stuff like that. So you just need to eat more. But if you can make most of your meals portioned out just by eyeballing it when you're trying to get bigger, if you aren't on a meal plan, you should be fine. It would be better to go slower, a few pounds every few weeks instead of 20 pounds in a month. There's just no way to gain that and have it all be muscle.
No.
So you spend a lot of time undoing some of that weight gain. So it'd be better to just do it a little bit slower.
Absolutely. And would you say that when you did gain that 100 pound in those 12 months, did you still class that as functional weight? Or did that make you quite lethargic and a bit slower and things like that when it came to like maybe your competition practice or event day?
It definitely made me slower. I don't really use the word functional when people say, oh, that's not a functional lift. What is a functional lift? I don't find barbells in the forest and put them on my back and squat them. So I will say it made me slower for sure. I was a long distance swimmer who started lifting. So everything was slower. It took me time to adjust to carrying around like basically 100-pound backpack spread out all over my body. So it's definitely slower. I don't hike like I used to. I used to hike, well, it's Mount Rainier over here. It's like 15,000 feet, 14,500. I couldn't do that anymore. Just too heavy. I don't want to do it, but I've definitely adjusted since then. It just took a little bit of time to change the sport I was doing from CrossFit to strongman.
Yeah, absolutely. And you would suit strongman really well. Well, I suppose you do suit strongman very well because you've got your height that goes in your favor as well.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love about the sport is deadlifting is going to be better for short people, but stone loading is better for me. I mean, I can just plop it on the 52-inch box, no problem. Other people might have to get it up and press it. So it's a sport that everyone's going to have strength and weaknesses in. I like that versus powerlifting where it's generally suited to shorter people.
Yeah, definitely.
Shorter range of motion. You know, my bar travels, you know, at least 1.5 times the distance of a 5'8" guy squatting.
Wow.
So it's just a lot more work done on a single rep. So with strongman, height is going to be an advantage for me on some things, disadvantage on others. So in the end, it evens out for everybody.
Oh, that's good. That's interesting to know as well. So I started my strongman and powerlifting training not so long ago, and I did my first powerlifting meet at the back end of last year. And for me, it was based on Wilks scores. So for me, it was quite good because I'm tiny, right? So right. I weighed in after a massive breakfast and after trying to bulk and reach a certain limit on it, I weighed in at just touching 50 kilos, and I was the lightest one there. The second lightest girl, or the second lightest person, period, was 59 kilos. So they had a good 9 kilos on me. Wow. So I did that and placed third out of, I think there was like 24 people there or something. So it's quite a nice little competition, really. But then when I transferred it over to Strongwoman, yeah, I could really tell the difference. I could tell the difference being in like an under 75s class.
Yeah, I mean, there's no Wilks there. It's just, can you do it or not? I mean, as a lighter person, you might have better cardio for carrying something if you can carry it. Do you have only under 75 and over 75 over there?
There is like a lightweight class, but those are so few and far between. I think there's one a year, and that's under 52s. Okay. So I would be able to do that, but most of them it's just under 75s and over 75s for women. The Strong Woman competition that I've got coming up in June, I've got to do a 15-meter yoke drop and turn with 150 kilos on it. So that's 3 times my body weight at 5 foot and 50 kilos in weight.
Yeah. I mean, my first show was an 880, 400 kilo yoke. Yeah. And I was, so get rid of the multiple times body weight thinking. It's going to be tough. The lighter you are, the more stuff you can do times your body weight. So that's nice. But yeah, the Wilks score is good for powerlifting. The only thing I don't like is when someone who's lighter and weaker than me just for no reason talks to me like, I can do this lift and it's 2.2 times my body weight. Yours is only 1.8. Okay, cool. You weigh less than me and you lift less than me. Like, congratulations. I don't care. But it is good for powerlifting competitions to have the Wilks. But outside of that, I just see it as a way for people to justify weighing less and lifting less. Yeah. I don't care what you're doing. Just leave me alone.
To be fair, I completely agree. I just like concentrating on my own lifts, and I couldn't care less. I mean, the guy who won was like 220 pounds or 240 pounds or something, and he was a monster. And it was just like, you're awesome. You still did you still did the lifts that I didn't, and you're cracking on. So like you said, I don't care really what you do, as long as you obviously train hard and you keep yourself to yourself, especially when I'm training and you don't come bother me. I don't really mind. But yeah, okay, so talking about lifting heavy then, what kind of training protocols do you advocate? Because obviously you're a strongman and you're a powerlifter and you've got CrossFit. Do you individualize training programs for your particular clients, or do you like training them with like modified strongman training and things?
It depends on what they want. I try to not force people to train in a way that I train because it's their dollar or their pound, whatever, their doubloon. And if I just trained them the way I would train myself, they may not stick around for very long. So it depends on their goals. Everybody does some sort of heavy lifting, but most of my people, in a way similar to me, they do a lot of accessory work. When I started, I thought sets of 5 or less makes you better, but it really doesn't. Beginners need a lot of volume all the time to get the technique down, the motor pattern down, to build up tendon and ligament strength, which only comes from stuff like pump work, basically. You know, if bicep tears are the most common strongman injury, and if people neglect curls, basically direct bicep work, you're not going to build up tendon and ligament strength in the bicep by forcing blood into the area, which is what the pump is. That's what we want. So when people neglect stuff like that, you'll see bicep tears. People neglect direct quad work, like leg extensions. I mean, you can do events, you can do heavy lifting to build those up, but heavy lifts don't target an area. You know, if I want to get my hamstrings bigger with a deadlift, yes, my hamstrings will be worked. So will my lower back, so will my grip, my forearms, my quads. Those things are going to give out before the area I'm trying to target. So I've transitioned now for most of my people is, instead of waiting until they get hurt to work those areas ahead of time, instead of hitting a roadblock in a couple years and saying, why did I waste all this time neglecting assistance work? So, I mean, that's what the manual I sell, Pump Dragon, is all about, is, you know, copious amounts of assistance work on top of your regular lifting. 2,000 reps in a day is not out of the ordinary.
Wow, that is a lot of reps.
It is. Doesn't have to be, stuff does not have to be heavy. You can get away from that way of thinking where if it's not heavy, you're not helping yourself. Do you know who Ed Cohn is?
Yeah, definitely. He did adding like 10 kilos to your deadlift in 12 weeks or something.
Nice. Well, he told me once, he told a few people once, there were a few years there where he never trained above 70% unless he was just about to compete. So you don't have to stay between 70 and 95 to make your max go up. I mean, I added 50 pounds to my bench this year, and was it 45 pounds without ever going above 85%. And even if I did go near 85%, I wouldn't do more than a couple reps just to film a video or something. Lifting for footage, lifting for likes. That's what I call it.
Lifting for likes. No,
my charity.
But you did do the ass quake for likes.
Oh yeah, I do a lot of stuff for likes. I mean, that's how I make my money. I have to make content, so.
I like the ass quake. I think it was quite good. It shows a really good mind-muscle connection to the ass. That if you could do an ass quake. And guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go onto his Instagram because it's quite sexual. It's nice. I like it. It
was an accident. I was trying to flex my hamstring and my ass didn't cooperate.
Brilliant. I love that. Okay, so let's move on. So obviously you do advocate the blood flow training and things like that. What kind of order would you actually program people in? So would you do a lot of kind of like blood flow and accessory lifts prior to doing a big, huge lift? Or would you just kind of say warm up nicely and then go into your big lift first and then do a lot of accessories?
Definitely save the accessory stuff for after. When I, when I go for a max, I do maybe 6 total reps before that. I don't warm up at all.
Oh, okay. That's really interesting. How come?
I don't have to. I perform better. Like one time I went in the gym when my max was 615 on deadlift. I walked in the gym, put down my backpack, and deadlifted 600, and that was it. So it was 98% of my max with no warm-up whatsoever. I don't know why I can do that. I don't advocate that, but I do advocate not warming up as much as people think they need to. Like at a competition, especially with beginners in the lighter weight classes, they'll do 5 or 6 reps, sometimes at their opener weight, sometimes go above their opener weight to build confidence, but they're really just fatiguing themselves before they get to the lift that matters, which is the third. So I don't advocate over warming up. I see it in a lot of CrossFit gyms. People are stretching for 30 or 40 minutes. How out of shape are you that you need to stretch that much before you lift? And these aren't out of shape people doing it. They're jacked CrossFitters, but it frustrates me a bit. So generally, if I'm going for a good max, I will do the max first, but then I will do maybe a lighter version of the same lift, and then again a lighter version of that lift. Like if it's squats, I'll do a max squat, 3 sets of 3 at 80%, 3 sets of 8 at like 70%, pausing it parallel, and then 3 sets of 20 bodybuilder version squats of that, where I don't lock out at the top and I don't hit depth, so I'm staying under tension. It feels like a leg press. If you don't have a leg press, that's a good way to do it. And then I will go into the accessory work. Right.
Okay. It sounds vomit inducing.
It's about 2 hours of good work. That's why I stick to three training days a week.
Yeah, I can imagine why. And do you do something like along the lines of like a push-pull legs split then? And is that what you would like to program, or do you program other training sessions for different people? I suppose again it comes down to each individual client, doesn't it? Like at the moment I train 5 days a week, but obviously I'm a bit more hybrid than yourself, I suppose.
And body type plays into it. Lighter people, there's less of you to move. You can and it depends on the type of muscle fibers you have, fast twitch, slow twitch, and the range of motion you have on your lifts. So someone larger like myself, I need that time in between to recover my body. So you may not, yes, you're doing heavy weights for your own body, but it's not, you can't just translate that to a heavier person. Like, the heavier you are, the less you can lift times your body weight. So you need more time to let your body recover. What is it? I have a big engine and a little tank.
Right.
You might be the opposite, or you might be a big engine, big tank. But I can go really hard for about 45 seconds, and then that's my wall. Doesn't matter what the event is, stones, log, whatever. 45 seconds is my wall.
Right.
And it didn't used to be that way, but when I got bigger, that became my wall. I mean, I went from swimming 1650 meter event to now getting gassed in 45 seconds. Wow, I mean, granted, I don't do a lot of cardio, but still, I need more time to recover.
Sure. Well, I suppose your cardio can be included in your accessory work, though, couldn't it? Because that's still a lot of hard work. I mean, 1,000 reps, that's cardio for anybody.
Yeah. I mean, I think the shorter rest periods for accessory and pump work is a bit of cardio related work for sure. But some stuff I'll have 15 minutes of air squats. That's someone's accessory movement. As many as you can do in 15 minutes. If you take a break, 3 or 4 seconds. Some people do 5 minutes of air squats. And if you take a break, the break is at the bottom of the squat. So there is no real break.
Yeah.
I try to break people a little bit and then back it off by about 5%.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that sounds hardcore. I hate air squats. It's that constant tension air squat, and I'd much rather squat really heavy.
Right.
Yeah. It's quite horrible. That lactic acid build up where you're just kind of screaming through it. Same on leg extensions. I hate leg extensions for that. But yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I don't really like squatting very much. I like hamstring work, pretty much everything but squatting. I think it's just a long way down for me. Yeah. Like my bench press is a long way down. It's slow. My descent is almost 6 seconds, and that's normal. So with squatting, it's even more of that.
Yeah,
it just is forever.
Yeah, it's just like, am I past parallel yet? No, keep going. Amazing. All right, so let's just kind of switch the tables a little bit then. Do you coach both natural and assisted athletes as well?
I'll coach anybody. Yeah, I don't know if they're assisted. I don't always ask them, but I have in the past.
Yeah. And so I take it that because you don't ask them, your training protocols and nutrition protocols are going to be exactly the same.
I mean, unless I hear otherwise, if I know that they're assisted, I will increase the training. But
Right.
I don't write nutrition stuff for all my clients. That's a separate fee. It's a lot of extra work. Writing the recipes is a lot of work. So that's an extra thing.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe 25-30% of my clients, I write their meal stuff. Just comes down to a money thing. I don't work for free. Nobody works for free. So if they don't want to pay for it, that's fine. And most of them, I don't think they need it. It's usually people that need to gain a lot or people that need to lose a lot that sign up for it, like 80 pounds, 70 pounds, 35 kilos, something like that.
Yeah, that's a lot of weight, isn't it? Either side, you're gaining or losing. That's a lot of weight to do.
Yeah. So it's good to have someone to keep you accountable to yourself and to them. But yeah.
In terms of people gaining like 35 kilos or 80 pounds in that regard, have you ever had a client that really, really wants to gain that weight to be better, but their psychological aspects are keeping them from adhering to that, maybe because they're gaining too much body fat in their eyes?
Yeah. I mean, 99% of the time, if someone wants to gain weight but isn't, they're stopping themselves. Oh, I eat so much. Well, I don't care how much you think you eat. If you aren't gaining weight, it's not enough. Sure. But I had a huge steak for dinner. Okay, eat that steak for dinner and then eat that again for lunch and breakfast and snack the next day and do that for like 3 months. So people think they want to get bigger, but they don't realize that unless you are gaining very slowly, you are going to put on some body fat. You are going to retain water. And usually it's even the water retention area that's like right in the beginning that stops people. They see a little softness or a little pudge and they stop. So people want to be big. They don't want to get big. You know, right. People want to be great athletes. They don't want to become great athletes. They just want to be there already. So that's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one. How do you deal with that? So like when people, because I know that you rolled your eyes and you're like, you know, you haven't been eating that, because I do exactly the same with my clients. But how do you actually deal with it with your clients? Do you have to almost be like their counselor or their psychologist and say it? Or do you just kind of say, do you know what, do you want this? Then deal with it.
I feel like their parent. I mean, I have athletes. I think sometimes athletes act like straight up children, you know, not throwing a tantrum in the store, but I've written this in a few articles, not planning, not looking at their long-term plan. They want to get strong, so they hit a PR right now just to see how it feels, except they're scheduled to hit one in 4 weeks, and that has now thrown the training cycle off, and I have to adjust to that. So I think some clients don't see the long-term plan, and that's what we're here for, is to see that for them. We're removed from it. We're not the ones doing the lifting. So yes, we are involved, but we're removed in a way to where we don't want the lift for ourselves. We want it for them, and we will have patience. And if they don't have the patience, or if they don't stick to their meal plan that they paid for to gain weight, there's just a lot of pep talking involved. I've only, fired 2 clients. It is in my form that if you don't stick to stuff, you go off plan, you don't contact me, like you're just done and there's no refund.
Fair enough. I understand that and I agree with it. I think that's really good of you to do that as well, because so many coaches are there worldwide who are just there to make a buck, and they'll take your money whether or not you're adhering to the plan or not. And it is very frustrating, especially when you get that feedback from your clients when they say, I've stuck to everything. I promise I've stuck to everything. And yet I haven't lost weight or gained weight this week, or I haven't made my lift, and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It is extremely frustrating, because you've then got to delve in and dig into them and say, well, actually, you did eat that cake that I saw that you put on social media. So because I'm not stupid and I follow you on social media. I was going to ask you something then as well. Oh, yeah. What about in regards to when you program lifts and that client doesn't make the lift that you have envisaged them to do as per your leading program, for example, your linear program? Mm-hmm.
What do I do about that?
Is there a particular... There could be lots of different reasons why they didn't make that lift. But
there could be 50 different reasons. It could be, I mean, I've had athletes who have trouble getting out of their own head in terms of, oh my God, am I going to make this? Oh, I hope I make it. Oh, it doesn't feel right. Oh my God, I didn't make it. The world's ending. So there's that. There's ones that, you know, the ultimate goal for missing a lift is only missing it because it's too heavy. That means all the technique is sound, everything's lined up, the stars are aligned, but that's probably not going to be the case, even for me. You know, It's not like I'm an expert, but I have been doing it for 7 years. I still miss things for technical reasons. So if I am, they definitely are. And I have people film their stuff. We watch it on Skype the following week so I can, you know, mostly so I don't have to type. I hate typing, especially when it's, check out my video. Okay, I watch it. I have to type a response. They don't understand what I said, so they type a response. And it's like 45 minutes of total work, whereas if we could just watch it for 5 minutes, it saves everybody time. I wish my keyboard auto-capitalized. I think that's part of it. But yeah, it depends on the client. Depends on how they need to be talked to. Some, you know, I don't ever call people like pussies or bitches or anything. I think that's why a lot of women work with me. Most of my clients are beginner women. I think because I look one way, I act another way. And I think guys generally don't sign up as much because they feel like there's this competition. Like, oh, he's going to judge me. You know, he thinks I'm weak. Well, you probably are if you're signing up for someone to coach you on the internet. If you were an expert, you wouldn't need me. So there's a lot of, you know, like, I swear I'm stronger than this. I swear this is just a bad day. Well, I don't care. You're here to get better. I'm not sitting back laughing at you, but it does depend on how the client needs to be talked to. Some like a direct approach. Some need, you know, coddling. Everybody needs coddling sometimes, and that's fine. If they need, you know, a play-by-play breakdown of what the lift looked like, or just need a little, you know, pat on the back. Whether they do the lift or not, I will find something to say that there was an improvement on. Because when you're not training for a competition, and most beginners are not, there's no, you know, getting stronger is a great goal, but it's not like tangible. You can't put it in your hand. You can't tape it above your computer screen. So when they're beginners, I tell them to pick a specific number for a lift, tape it above their TV, their computer screen, their bathroom mirror, so they see that. Because until they train for a competition, there's no like end goal that keeps you accountable. So the number thing is important. Just remind them of the goal they're trying to hit, and that you're not going to PR every time.
Sure.
And when you're a beginner, you kind of fall into that trap of, oh my God, a 30-pound PR over the last month. That's because when you're new, you can like blow your nose and see strength gain from that. So that's one of the great things about being a beginner is lots of PRs quickly, but you got to understand that will diminish, and you'll be happy with the 5-pound PR every 3 or 4 months sometimes.
God, it sounds so demotivating when you say it like that, isn't it? So guys, if you can't do the maths, that's 2.5 kilos in 3 or 4 months.
That's 2 kilos. But the flip side is you're not adding 30 pounds to a weak lift. You're adding 2.5 kilos to an already good lift.
Yeah.
So just try to think of it that way.
Yes. So there is still silver linings, which is always good. Okay, cool. So I know that we are coming up on time here, Brandon. I know that you've given us a lot of your time, which I really, really appreciate. So before you go, will you just let everybody know where they can find you and contact you or buy your books? Because you are selling some books as well at the minute.
Yeah, so LiftBigEatBig.com is where I sell all my stuff. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. It's all LiftBigEatBig. Keep it simple. Working on Pump Dragon 3 right now. And if you like volume, you want a little break from maxing your lifts, but still want to do some compound work, pick those up. It's $30 for 8 weeks, which is a really great deal. And it's all stuff you can do in your garage or a CrossFit gym. There's no machines. That's why I wrote it, for people that don't have access to that. So that comes with descriptions, me doing the lift, so you know what it's supposed to look like. So there's like 80 videos per manual, but check that out. LiftBigEatBig.com.
Brilliant. And that's great. And guys, if you've got any questions for Brandon or myself, then please put them in the comment section of YouTube. You know that we always get back to them as and when we can. And that is it from Don't Fear the Weight this week. Lots of love. Thank you for tuning in, and I will catch up with you in the next episode. Cheers, Brandon.
Thank you. See you later.